let's finish our pinafore. We need to add the lace to the bottom and our bow to the back. But first, always remember to share this so it will save to your profile and you can find it when you're looking for it again later. We made our pinafore. I took it home, tried it on the little ladies. It needs to be ironed. But now we're going to add the lace across the bottom and then we'll make the bow for the back. Now this is just pre-ruffled eyelet lace, 3/4 of an inch from Amazon. It's pretty small, but it's super sweet. I'm gonna sew it like this. I'm just gonna lay the lace directly on top of the bottom of the dress or shirt. I'm gonna sew it and then I'm gonna fold it up and sew it again. Now I'm gonna end up with a raw edge on the inside. I don't care, it's fine for me because my little ladies are gonna wear this for a photo and it's gonna go in a box somewhere. But if you didn't want a raw edge, you could go ahead and hem this, then sew this to the top and then fold it under. You know what? I guess that's what I'm gonna do because I hear y'all yelling at me. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is fold this down just a tiny bit, maybe 1/4 of an inch, and I'm gonna sew all the way down. Then we're gonna come back and add our lace. You can iron it if you want to. I'm not going to, I'm just gonna stitch mine. But if you want to, I want you to. We're just gonna sew it down with a straight stitch, kind of like a top stitch. I'm sewing a little closer to the edge because I'm just hemming this down so I can come back and add the lace. Okay, so I've hemmed mine. Now, if you didn't want to hem yours, you could just zigzag down the edge like I did the inside of the dress, or you could use your serger, but I chose to hem mine. So now I've hemmed it. I'm going to come back to the front of the dress, and I'm going to take my sweet little eyelet lace. Let me find the end of it. And I'm going to lay it on here just like this. Now, I'm going to fold under this very end, but I'm folding it towards me because I'm going to sew it down, and then I'm going to come back and turn it. And I want the fold to be on the inside. So I'm gonna start by laying it right here on the edge. I'm gonna fold this down and I'm gonna straight stitch this on top of this. I guess it's a seam right here where they gathered it. I'm gonna stitch on top of that all the way down the dress. Straight stitch, back stitching when you start and when you stop, because my grandma said so. And it occurs to me right now, in this moment, as I'm editing the video, that I never even read the pattern. I have no idea how Amy said to finish the bottom of the dress. I keep calling it a dress, but it's less than a dress and more than a shirt because of the way it's sized. This is 2/4. Okay, we've sewn our lace on like this. Now we're gonna fold it down just like this. And we're gonna come and top stitch all the way across, and that's gonna make our lace lay flat and pretty. Now we're gonna top stitch just a straight stitch, nothing fancy, and we're gonna top stitch next to the edge of our fabric. So our fabric meets our lace right here. When we fold it over, it's folded over, looks like this. We're gonna top stitch right here, all the way down. And yes, we're back stitching when we start and when we stop because my grandma said so. It's less than a dress, but more than a shirt. And because of the way that it's sized, if you were making this exact same one for a 2-year-old, it would be longer, so it would be more like a dress. But because mine are 4-year-olds, it's shorter, more like a shirt. But both of them would need something underneath it because it's open in the back. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here's our sweet little pinafore. Now remember, we decided not to do the ties on the back because we want to make a bow. So let's make our bow next. I started with 2 pieces of fabric, the width of the fabric. When you see it on a pattern, it says WOF, and I was like, what does that even mean? But it means width of fabric. So pretend like I cut this fabric off of one of these bolts. It would be cut from the bottom to the top, the width of the bolt to fabric. And it's folded in half on the bolt, so you unfold it. So I have 2 pieces that are 7 inches wide by the width of the fabric, so 44-ish inches, but it doesn't have to be exact. Now I'm gonna take them and put them pretty side to pretty side just on the ends, and I'm gonna sew that together. Straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when I start and when I stop. Now we have one really long piece, right? We're gonna take it and fold it in half long ways like this. Bum, bum, bum. Now we're gonna sew one end shut and we're gonna come all the way down and sew until about the middle. So I have a seam here, so I know where my middle is. Let me get some clips. Here and here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sew here all the way down until I get to this clip, and then I'm gonna stop. And then I'm gonna do this end. I'm gonna sew from here all the way down and across the bottom. So I'll come all the way down and across here, and then I will turn it right side out in this hole I left between the clips. Straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when you start and when you stop, because my grandma said so. Fabric bows are super easy to make and very satisfying, especially when you have little ladies, because you can use them on everything and for everything. Because what little girl doesn't need another bow? I mean, is too many bows a thing? But y'all know, I struggle with less is more. Okay, so we've done that. Now we're gonna find our hole that we left in the middle, and we're gonna turn it right side out. And then we're gonna push out the corners, the ends of our bow. And I had my husband make me something, and let me see if I can find it. I'll show y'all. It's kind of genius, but it's not my idea. One of y'all told me to do it. So what you need is a piece of PVC pipe. I asked him to cut it for me 1 foot long, but then it was like the same length as my chopstick, and it presented a problem. So I asked him to cut it off, and this one is probably, I don't know, 6 or 8 inches maybe, but it's perfect. And then you just put it in the middle, feed your whole bow on top of it. When you get to the end, take your chopstick, stick it down in there. Ta-da! Right side out. Genius! Now let's do the other end. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna feed our PVC pipe in there and gather our bow on top of it. When we get to the end, we're gonna shove it through with the chopstick. Actually, I think this is a piece of a dowel rod, but same concept. Bum, bum, bum. And we have it turned right side out. Now, be sure to poke out your corners. Chopstick, handy dandy tool, whatever you want to use. Do not use your scissors. Don't do it. It's a terrible idea. I'll be crying because you poked a hole in your project. You'll be crying because you have a hole in your project. Everybody's crying. Let's just don't do that. Now, we've turned it right side out. So the next thing we're going to do is iron it. Let me grab my iron. And this is my ironing situation. And yes, it's a whole situation. Heat resistant pad, wool mat, Oliso MP3, which means Mini Pro 3 iron in a precious pink. Now, the irons come in a whole bunch of different colors, but all of this is linked on both my Walmart and my Amazon storefronts if you're looking for them. So all I'm doing is laying it flat and ironing it. That's it, easy peasy. When I first started sewing, I would not have ironed this. I'm just here to tell y'all. I mean, I knew I probably should, but I wouldn't have because I didn't want to. It wasn't gonna make any difference to me. I was proud that I made it. The bow's gonna be all wadded up in a minute anyway, but after all these years, take the few minutes and iron. I promise you'll be glad you did. I have a student who said, Tammy, what if I don't own an iron? And I said, well, are we thinking about getting one? And she just laughed, left, went on her way, came back to class the next time, and her stuff was so crisp and pretty. And I said, Ashley, did we get an iron? And she said, I use my flat iron. And I will forever and ever and ever love that story. Okay, this is the hole that we left. So we're gonna fold that in like this and continue ironing. We're gonna come back in just a minute, top stitch all the way around our bow, and that's gonna close that hole up. Okay, I've ironed it. Now I'm gonna top stitch all the way around. I'm doing that twofold. Number one, it's gonna make my bow lay nice and crisp. And number two, it's gonna close the hole that we left when we first sewed it. So I'm just top stitching a little closer to the edge than a regular stitch. I like for my top stitching to look like it's almost about to fall off, but you only sew as close as you're comfortable. Straight stitch, and yes, we're back stitching when we start and when we stop. Because my grandma said so, because she terrified me. She told me that if I didn't back stitch, my stuff would fall apart. And every time I don't say because my grandma said so, one of y'all reminds me that I didn't say it, and it makes my heart so happy. So when it comes to back stitching, if you're asking me, the answer is yes, always back stitch. Because I said so, because my grandma said so, or just because it's a really good idea. Okay, we've top stitched it. Now, when we put it on the, by we, I mean me and the mouse in my pocket, when I put it on the back of the other dress, I stitched it right here, which we're gonna do that. But then when I tried it on my little lady, I needed to stitch the bow up here on the straps. So if you're doing a bow like me, stitch it on like we're doing, and then try it on your little lady and make sure that, because the bow was pulling the straps weird, and when I picked the bow up and pinned them to the straps, and I'm just gonna like put a little tack stitch in it, when I pinned them to the straps, it made the dress stand up a little better. So that's what I'm doing. Now, I did not fold mine in half. Mine has a seam in the middle, so I know where the center of it is. It doesn't have a front and back because it's the same fabric. I'm gonna lay it in the center of my dress, and I'm gonna stitch, bum, bum, bum. I'm just gonna stitch right here, back and forth a few times. I want it to have some strength, so when my children pull on each other's bow, because I know it will happen, maybe it won't come off. Now, we're just gonna tie a bow and put it on our little people. I'm gonna try this one on the other little lady and make sure that tacking it up is going to look great. But don't worry, y'all are gonna get to see all the photos. Now, here is our bow, our pinafore. I'm going to tie the bow like this. You can tie your bow any way you want to, but if you take each side of it, just like this, you see that? Have my fingers in here, just like this, and you just tie a knot, it makes a really pretty bow. Really, really pretty bow. So now I'm gonna clip it right here so I can try it on her before I stitch it, but that is exactly what will happen, is it will just be tacked onto the strap, just like this right here. Or that's what I'm thinking. But I wanna try this on her with this clip and make sure it lays like I want it to before I do that. And even if you didn't do that, it would still be gorgeous. All right, and I'm 100% shortening my bow. I'm not sure how short I want it. Probably, I'm gonna take that much off of each side. But I wanna shorten it so it doesn't drag the ground when they walk around. But here's our precious pinafore, dun dun dun, for the little lady's photo shoot. My name is Tammy. I'm your favorite sewing teacher, and I would love for you to come sew with me.